Hello, everyone, and welcome to Blind Buys, a podcast where we watch and discuss movies we've bought sight unseen. I'm Josh, and with me, as always, is my collector in crime, Jesse.
Hey, everyone, and thanks for joining us for our fifth episode where we'll be discussing Josh's blind buy pick, The Cat from 1992. A wild pick. Lots of fun.
Yeah.
But before we get into that, we'll talk about some of the things we usually talk about, what we've been up to, what we've been watching, and some fun new announcements that could crop up on this show in future episodes. Who can say?
It's been 3 weeks since we last recorded because we did The Wiz a bit early.
Behind the pod. Yes.
Yeah, because you had some travel plans. What have you been up to since we last heard from you?
Yeah. Got to do a little traveling with my son. He had midwinter break coming up, and he and I went to Pittsburgh to visit my sister, which was a great time. Love Pittsburgh. It's a really neat city. But of particular interest to us and what we do here, they also just had, certainly within the last 6 months, Vinegar Syndrome opened a new outlet of their brick-and-mortar operation in Pittsburgh, kind of on the south side of the city, across the river, in this neat neighborhood. But this is the fourth brick-and-mortar location that Vinegar Syndrome has opened. It's the second one that I've been able to visit, actually, because I live in, my mom lives in New York. I grew up in New York, which is pretty close to where Vinegar Syndrome is headquartered in Bridgeport, Connecticut. And they have the Archive, which I don't know the exact history, if that store predated Vinegar Syndrome and if they sort of joined forces, but it's called the Archive. It's officially affiliated with Vinegar Syndrome, and it's this incredible, you go in there and it's like this cool cave full of just physical media, movie stuff, memorabilia, and all but they also have tapes and CDs and vinyl and stuff and movie posters.
It's like the Holy Land for sickos.
It is, yes, exactly. So I was able to go to the Archive in Connecticut the last year when I went home. My sister and I drove an hour and a half to go check it out, and that was an amazing experience. So they stock I think basically all of Vinegar Syndrome's kind of in stock new releases and all their most of their back catalog stuff seemingly, but they also have new releases from all the major labels like new Criterion, new Arrow, you name it. They've got import label stuff, along with loads and loads of used stuff that they buy from people. So going in there, awesome. Yeah. So going in there is a real treat for kind of dumpster divers like myself. So it was really cool to get to go to the new one in Pittsburgh, and the other two locations. There's one in Toronto, and there's one in the Denver area. So those are the other two. So hopefully I can get to see those other two at some point. But yeah, the new one is really slick. It's much smaller. It's just kind of like a standard storefront. But one wall is all of the new release Vinegar Syndrome stuff, their catalog titles, all the new stuff from other labels, and then the facing wall is just all used DVDs, Blu-rays, and 4Ks from who knows where, and VHS tapes. So I was there for a while digging through to see what there was to see. Made a couple of pickups because it's nice because they also, if you are a Vinegar Syndrome customer, they'll take your phone number and they can get you your points for their media club scheme. So I got points for the money I spent there, and I picked up the China O'Brien 1 and 2 set from maybe a year or two ago. It's these some of my favorite things that Vinegar Syndrome has been doing is kind of diving into the Cynthia Rothrock back catalog of Hong Kong martial arts movies, because she's just an amazing martial artist, and she's a woman, and an American woman at that. So I've really been enjoying diving into that stuff from her, so I picked up those, and I got a used 4K of Labyrinth, which I hadn't had Labyrinth in my collection yet, so I got that used. And also I got The Hobbit on VHS, and this being the Rankin and Bass Hobbit cartoon from the 1970s, which I grew up on and really love, and having it on VHS just feels right. They haven't released I don't think they've released a nice Blu-ray or 4K of that yet, so I hadn't picked it up, but having it on VHS is fun, and I'll definitely watch that with my son at some point. But yeah, really cool to visit that place. We don't have anything, we have Scarecrow here, of course, in Seattle, but nothing quite like that. That's like a a shop really devoted to buying physical media. So lots of fun to visit, and also funny to note. I'd probably hit it quickly in what we've been watching, but I got to see Nirvana, the band, the show, the movie,
Oh,
and
nice.
and in that movie, which is set in Toronto, and one of the characters, it was almost like an Easter egg just for me, was wearing a Vinegar Syndrome Toronto T-shirt, and I was doing the sort of Leo Point thing when that popped up, so that was very funny to see that pop up just hours after I was at the Vinegar Syndrome store in Pittsburgh. So yeah,
Yeah.
so that was a real
That
treat.
is so cool. I would love to go visit the Vinegar Syndrome store at some point. I was in Pittsburgh last year for work, and I walked by the storefront that they weren't open yet, but they had the sign out that said, Vinegar Syndrome, whatever, brick-and-mortar coming soon. And I was like, oh, I can't believe I've come early and now I'll probably never end up in Pittsburgh again. While I was in Pittsburgh, though, I went to a place called, I think it's called like Ides Entertainment. It's like 3 stories of used and new media like Blu-rays, DVDs, records, comics, action figures, all that stuff. I spent like 2 hours in there and walked out with much more than I needed. But yeah, definitely gonna have to visit Vinegar Syndrome at some point. But as for what I've been up to lately, mainly just watching a lot of movies at home, around, our daughter's wake windows and sleeping windows and all that good stuff. I was thinking earlier today, this has probably been the longest I've ever gone without having seen a new release film in quite some time. It is March 3rd as we're recording. I haven't seen a single movie that's come out in 2026.
Yep,
And
that
yeah.
tracks.
Yeah, and that's solely just because I haven't been in the theater. I haven't been renting on paid VOD when new things are coming out, and definitely haven't been watching much straight to streaming stuff. So, but other than that, like I've been kind of taking the opportunity to kind of work through some letterbox challenges when I'm up late at night trying to just pick something to watch. So having those kinds of lists to draw from have been nice. And also just, whatever I've got lying around on the shelf that I haven't gotten to yet. So that can kind of segue us into, the what we've been watching section. And the main thing that I have watched since we last talked was I went back and revisited Twin Peaks Fire Walk with Me for, I guess, like Twin Peaks Day that happened not too long ago. The day Dale Cooper enters Twin Peaks in the pilot episode is considered Twin Peaks Day for fans of the show. And I hadn't gone back to watch Fire Walk with Me since the first time I watched it during COVID when I was going through the whole series. And I remember the first time I watched it was super late at night. I was visiting my parents at the time, so I was like in my old bedroom and just in the dark and getting like freaked out of my mind watching it. And I kind of had a similar experience now all these years later because I was watching it super late at night in the dark and I was getting really freaked out. Just how things have changed and how things have stayed the same.
Yeah, it remains my last Lynch feature that I have yet to watch, and I've just, it's one of those I'm waiting. I'll be sad when I don't have any more new to me Lynch. I'll still have I still have to watch The Return, as we may have talked about, but no, there won't be any more movies after that one. So I thought I would do it this year for Twin Peaks Day. It didn't happen. It was because it's on the longer side, and I just like the conditions need to be right. I don't want to fall asleep during this one if I started it at like 11 o'clock or anything like that. So
yeah, it definitely requires your full attention, and it's disturbing and really haunting and not as fun as an episode of the series could potentially be,
right,
and I think that's extremely purposeful. However, I did also get a chance to watch one of the bonus features on the Criterion 4K of Fire Walk with Me, which is The Missing Pieces, which is about 90 minutes of deleted and alternate takes that Lynch edited together into a sort of feature-length production. And that is more aligned with the tone of the show because it's all the scenes with the Twin Peaks characters that you know and love that were cut out of the final film. So that was really fun to discover and kind of see how those pieces fit into the story. And so I'll be interested to see if you ever end up checking out Fire Walk with Me and do the missing pieces along with that. What you think about that?
Oh yeah, We'll get to it. We'll get to it. Just the
Yeah.
list is so long. The list is so long,
It
which
truly
I
is.
guess is why we're here.
Yeah.
Well, I got to watch a couple of, since I traveled, I was able to watch a couple movies on the plane, which is always fun. I think there's something about a plane movie. What is it about a movie? Like, what makes the perfect plane watch, right? Something that,
Yep.
kind of helps pass the time and is fun that you don't mind watching on. In my case, my son had the iPad, so I was watching on my phone. But my two plane watches were on the way out there, I watched Atomic Blonde with the great Charlize Theron, and on the way back, what was it? Oh yeah, Predator Badlands. And
Oh yeah.
both just really awesome, just so much fun. It was really, I mean, would it have been better to see these on a big, like at least on my TV, possibly, probably. But you know what? They were just dumb enough and fun enough that I had a great time with them watching those on the plane. I kind of wish that we still had loads more action movies from Charlize Theron. She's just so great in these movies. She can really, I'm sure there are more women who could do this if they were given the shot, but I mean, she can carry an action movies as well or better as most men can who are given the chance to do it. I know that I'd like to read the sort of tell-all or the oral history of the Mad Max movie, Fury Road.
Yeah.
Have you seen that book? So there's an oral history that they published about Mad Max Fury Road, and I've heard some excerpts from it, and it sounds like, I mean, obviously it was a very trying production for many reasons, and so I'm curious to see if there's something in there about that experience and what it was like for her to be put through the ringer to make that movie happen. But anyway, so yeah, that was a lot of fun.
She's done these 2 Old Guard movies on Netflix.
Yes, so I watched, and that's since. So I've definitely watched the first one, which I enjoyed. Yes. So yeah, she's still doing it. She's still putting those in. And then Badlands. I love movies set in the Yutani verse. I think Dan Trachtenberg is doing a really awesome job with these movies. So yeah, it was very CG-ified, of course, but I don't know. For me, oftentimes that bothers me. But here I didn't really mind it. It seemed really well done. It probably helped that I was watching on my phone.
Yeah. We watched it at home this past week actually, and I was pleasantly surprised by like the design of the main Predator. Like I thought it was going to be extremely CGI heavy and not realistic at all. And I didn't find that to be the case when I was watching it. So
yeah, and very expressive for what he was, and through the language that they developed for it. But I mean, and it really helps that you get Elle Fanning to kind of act up opposite a character like that, and she was just great. So that was great. I watched a whole bunch of other stuff, but the only other thing I'll call out, just given his recent passing, but last night I watched The Apostle, which is from the now late great Robert Duvall. He directed a handful of movies, but this was the one that I had known about because I remember when it came out. So from 1997, and he plays this charismatic preacher in Texas and Louisiana. Kind of in the early 90s, kind of when it was shot, I guess, set when it was shot. And I don't know, it made me wish that we had more from him directing. I thought it was a really, really amazing movie, amazing role from him. He just really nailed, it's funny because I think he grew up in California, but you would just think that he was from like somewhere in the South. He just really nailed the affectations and the cadence of how these guys, do their thing. And it told a really compelling story, and it feels really underseen. It was on a DVD that I rented from Scarecrow. I don't think there's no Blu-ray out. I think there's a commentary from him on that disc, so I'm hoping that it gets a re-release and a remaster, because it was one of those ones. I don't know if your TV ever does this, but do you ever get it like not just letterboxed, but also like crunched in on the sides?
Yes.
So you have a
especially
box
if you're watching on Tubi or something. Yeah.
So I find on older DVDs this happens sometimes. So it's like a box within a box. So I was only seeing like on maybe 50% of my TV's viewing area, and I didn't do like the zoom thing. So this DVD needs a re-release, especially just because of who's involved, and I think it's a really great movie. It's like early performance from Walton Goggins, who's really, really good in the limited role he has.
Really?
Yeah, early Walton Goggins. Billy Bob Thornton's in there. Really, really great cast, but also lots of people who were just from the community where they were shooting. Like they got people from a church like this to just be parishioners, which I think if you were to tell a story in one of these sort of like, I don't know if it's exactly Pentecostal, but a church like that, I feel like if you didn't have people from those communities, it would almost feel like a caricature, but it just felt real. It felt real the way that the way that it was shot and who they got to play. So highly recommend people catching up with that, The Apostle.
Nice. Yeah, I think it's been on my watch list for a bit, so I got to move that up and watch it sooner rather than later. One more thing I was going to mention that I watched recently is because I've been slowly working through all of Joe Dante's films over the last couple of years. I've got a ways to go because I've been enjoying his films from the 80s and kind of early 90s, and those have been so good, and I know that the rest of his filmography is probably not going to be up to those highs that I've experienced so far, but I did get to watch Gremlins 2 for the first time, and it was awesome.
Yeah.
I've been holding off until a potential 4K release to watch it, but I was just flipping through channels the other day, and it was playing on Sci-Fi, and it had just started, and I was like, all right, I guess I'm sat for the next 2 hours, and I'm gonna watch Gremlins 2 the way it was meant to be seen with commercials and everything. And it just was so much fun. I didn't realize that the same kid was going to be back from the original, just like older and working like an actual adult job. So that was cool. I'm glad they carried through like the commitment to like extreme violence in these movies, because like in the original Gremlins, I was so surprised at how violent it was, and like and how people were just like straight up dying, and like I was not expecting that at all. So I'm glad they carried that through to Gremlins 2 as well. And also Christopher Lee is in this for like maybe 5 minutes total, but playing like a mad scientist doing genetic research and stuff. But man, I had so much fun with it. I truly wish that I had that, like that I had seen that as a kid, because I would have been totally obsessed.
I've seen Gremlins 2 more than I've seen Gremlins OG. Probably. It's possible that I didn't see the first Gremlins all the way through until I was in college. But Gremlins 2 is just on cable all the time for whatever reason, and I never really caught much of Gremlins. So it was funny to see the sort of like, Joe Dante being fed up with the corporateness of Hollywood. And that being sort of my take on what Gremlins was before I really experienced Gremlins in full. But yeah, love that movie. I'm also hoping for a nice release of that soon.
Yeah, I'm afraid I'm gonna have to double dip if they end up doing a like a 2-pack of Gremlins and Gremlins 2 in 4K, because I already have the first one. But yeah, what are you gonna do?
It seems like the rights might be split, kind of like Wayne's World and Wayne's World 2. Like one was Wayne's World got a studio release, and I think Wayne's World 2 was a Kino, or maybe it's the other way around. So who knows?
You had it right.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah. All right. Well, and of course there are new things coming out, getting announced all the time, and we've definitely had some of those come down the pike. So Arrow dropped their May announcements about a week ago, and from them we have coming the Dollars trilogy, this time as a 4K box set. That's a UK release. The Robin Hood Prince of Thieves 4K, which they've done before. So I think the previous release must have been a UK only, but this is going to be a US release. And then coming for a UK release, UK only release, is Nightbreed in 4K. And then Blue Thunder, which this one I'm actually not familiar with, Blue Thunder. But it appears to be some sort of a war movie with helicopters. I'm not sure. Action movie with helicopters.
I want to say that this is what people thought Christopher Nolan's next project was going to be, was a remake of Blue Thunder before he went into production on The Odyssey, because of whatever the secret production title of the film was. But yeah, this Blue Thunder movie stars Roy Scheider, and it looks like he's a police helicopter pilot suffering from Vietnam trauma.
Oh, and my man Warren Oates is in it too. Oof. I love Warren Oates.
Yeah. Is this going to be a blind buy then?
I mean, who can say? Who can say? So I did not go in on the individual releases of the Dollars trilogy from Arrow because I already had the 4Ks from Kino. I have since gone in on the 4K this 4K box set. I couldn't resist. Yeah, I like this box set. I love the artwork from Tony Stella. I think Arrow generally does a better job with their discs. So my Kino 4Ks are off on their way to a new owner who will be getting them. I've gave them away to a person in the VHS Village Discord. And I am excited to check out these Arrow 4Ks for sure.
Yeah, I'm coming up against a dilemma here because I bought the individual Dollars Trilogy films from Kino with the intention to watch them for the first time because I've never seen any of the 3 films before, besides like the main shootout sequence in like film class in college or something. So I'm really debating trying to resell or give away the Kino versions and then upgrade to the Arrow version if I haven't even seen the films to begin with. Like, I know they're good and they're like they're seminal works of Western genre films and Clint Eastwood's filmography and all that stuff. But do I spend the money to buy something for a second time that I haven't seen even once? I don't know. And that is the dilemma of this show.
It's a tough one. At least you didn't go in on the individual titles when Arrow released those, because some people were kind of annoyed when the announcement dropped that they had gone through it. Like, why didn't you just do this for the first time, release this box set? Perhaps it was inevitable that this day would come.
Yeah, and then the rest of these from Arrow I've never seen either. I know Nightbreed is Clive Barker.
It's a fun one. Yeah, a lot of great practical makeup stuff, as you might expect in a Clive Barker movie, and just cool to see him doing his own thing, doing things his way. There's supposed to be a crazy like his cut of the movie, which almost nobody has ever seen and has never been released. That's when people are always asking, like, is this gonna have the whatever the name is cut on it? And I don't think it does. But even the version that I've seen I have the there's a Shout Factory 4K. So I have that one and I've seen it, and it's good. It's a good watch for sure.
Yeah, and Robin Hood. That's Kevin Costner's in that, right?
Oh yeah, I grew up watching this all the time. So
sadly never seen it.
An odd thing to say, because I think I was like all of 8 years old when the first one came out originally, but we had it on like ripped on a VHS off of HBO, and nice. It was on the shelf, so I would watch it. So yeah, a sentimental favorite for me for sure.
All right, and then recently, here in the last couple of days, Vinegar Syndrome put out their March announcements. Got a couple of really interesting ones here. We've got a 4K of a slasher film called Office Killer, 4K of a film called Massacre, which was released under the Lucio Fulci Presents banner at the time of its release. We've got Volume 9 of the Forgotten Gialli series. Then from Cinematograph, we've got Badge 373. It's Robert Duvall, isn't it?
Oh, yeah. Yep, it's him. And another one that I've never heard of, and a really oddly timely coincidence, that's what they're doing this month. But yeah, yep.
Yeah, I saw that it's not coming in the like cloth-bound, really nice version that Cinematograph releases typically get. This is just a standard Blu-ray release. So I'm curious to see if maybe they kind of rushed the release of this one to get it out as soon as they could after he passed away.
Yeah, it's an interesting question. Yeah, and this I guess is supposed to be like the real life version of The French Connection or something like that. So that's interesting, because the French Connection's pretty gritty as it is, but I don't know, Robert Duvall doing a grittier French Connection, sign me up.
And then before we get into some of the sub-label stuff, I wanted to talk a little bit about Office Killer, because I had never heard of it before. This is a film from 1997 by Cindy Sherman, and it stars Carol Kane and Molly Ringwald. Carol Kane of When a Stranger Calls fame, as well as, Taxi and Unbreakable Kimmy Schmidt and so on and so forth. But she's just awesome. I love everything that I've seen her in. And that's kind of what drove me to purchase Office Killer, because I'm so interested to see what she's up to in this movie.
Well, and I have seen this. I watched this last year, almost a year ago, actually, February 2nd, 2025, a little over a year ago. Yeah, I don't know what brought me to watch this, but I rented it from Scarecrow, and it was on a DVD. I usually notate whether I've heard on a podcast, like if a podcast recommends this, because this feels like a podcast recommendation, like maybe a It feels very much like a pure cinema podcast
Mm-hmm.
rec. So maybe it was from there that I heard about it.
This has a 17% on Rotten Tomatoes. So,
I'm not surprised, but
yeah. Now I'm
that's
even more intrigued.
directed by a woman, and Carol Kane's. I mean, Carol Kane stars and is acting very strange, and it's a disturbing movie. So it's kind of challenging, but I think you'll like it. It's very Bat and Spider coded. I
Yeah,
think.
I can
Our
imagine.
buddies over there.
And then, have you gotten any of the Forgotten Gialli sets from Vinegar
No.
Syndrome?
The giallo is one of those genres I just can't dive into. I have some of the classics, but it's such a deep dark hole. And
Yeah.
I don't love giallo. I like, if I'm being
Okay.
honest, like I've enjoyed what I've seen, but I think if I dove deep on the iterations of the formula that aren't done by like really kind of flashy, people who leave their stamp on stuff like,
Mm-hmm.
like Fulci and some of these other people. There's just I've got my fingers in too many other genre pies in terms in terms of collecting. So
Yeah,
I feel
that
like
makes sense.
I just can't dive any deeper than I am right now. So
Well, and
I'm
this
happy
new
to watch them, but I don't know how much rewatch value they have for me.
Yeah, and this new release being volume 9 of this series, which is crazy to say, like I have to imagine they're starting to scrape the bottom of the bottom of the barrel on
I
these.
mean, you never know.
But
Like Shaw Brothers, kind of talking about what we're talking about today. Shaw Brothers released almost 1,000 movies, so
oh
some
my
of these,
gosh.
and not all those are like kung fu movies, but
Yeah.
there's a lot out there that just never made it over here. Hence why all
Yeah.
these labels are able to do what they're doing.
Yeah, so I have the standard editions of the first 3 of these Forgotten Gialli sets, and I'm not going to get any more of them unless they put out more standard editions. It seems
Yeah.
like they kind of stopped doing that, so I'm okay with where I'm at on those. And I have the Arrow Giallo Essentials sets as well. So I feel like I'm pretty well set. Like I'd try to collect, more of the Fulci films that come out, or the Argento giallos that have been released in 4K. I've got most of those, and I have a good time with them. But I can definitely see that at some point the return on investment just kind of decreases because they really are just all pretty much exactly the same, with
Yeah.
maybe like 1 or 2 minor tweaks in the formula every time. What I am interested in, though, kind of going along the lines of the Giallo format, is this new sublabel that Vinegar Syndrome has put a couple things out from so far called Bizarro, which is collecting Spanish, like low budget exploitation, Giallo inspired films, that kind of thing. They've got a new release coming out in March called The Ghost Galleon that I am quite interested in.
Yeah, this is one of the new partners. It's a 4K release. Yeah, it looks pretty cool.
Yeah, the cover of the standard edition is a bunch of skeletons in robes carrying a scantily clad woman, and there is a devil ram horn skeleton head kind of floating above everyone. And so I was interested enough by that image alone to put that in my cart. But yeah, this is the 3rd chapter of the Blind Dead saga, apparently.
Oh,
Yeah, from director Armando de Osorio, and I'm
you're gonna have
definitely
to
going to
get
be
the other
checking it
two
out.
chapters, huh?
Yeah, I went to see if these had releases from anywhere else, and it looks like the second one got a release from Synopsis Films, and the first one seems to have gone unreleased for a bit. But I'll definitely be checking this one out, and this sublabel seems to be positioned to kind of pull even more films out of obscurity that I've never heard of in a genre that I really like. So Bizarro, I'm gonna keep my eye on that.
Oh man, yeah,
Uh,
there's a lot interesting in the partner labels, and they just keep adding more.
They
But a
do.
few just quick that I sort of noted here. The AGFA release, Wildwood, New Jersey. It's sort of like a documentary of sorts, just about like a night in the life of people vacationing in Wildwood, New Jersey, which is kind of close to where I grew up. We weren't Jersey Shore people, but 90s sort of found footage stuff. Not found footage exactly, but slice of life 90s. That's kind of real catnip for me. Kind of shot on Super 8. It looks cool. So that's intriguing. This Fritz Lang's Indian epic, The Tiger of Eshnapur and the Indian Tomb. Apparently Fritz Lang directing exploitation movies, like sort of toward the end of his life. Night was his 1959. That it looks fascinating. Oh, and one more. Film Movement Classics is putting out the Zhang Yimou film Judu, or I don't know if I'm pronouncing that properly, but I think this was his first team up with Gong Li, and this is interesting because Imprint put out a huge box set that was all of the Zhang Yimou Gong Li films a number of years ago. That was one that went really quickly, and there's some really beautiful movies in there, like Raise the Red Lantern is in there, which is an excellent movie. So I'm interested to see some of them. And that was, they're an Australian label, so presumably more of these movies will get put out here in the States. But some of Zhang Yimou's earlier movies, I'm definitely interested in them getting some single releases out here, because that set was it was expensive. It was expensive when it was new, and now it goes for like $200 or more on the aftermarket. So excited to see some of his work get released here.
Yeah, that's a director I'm not familiar with at all. So when I saw that come through on the announcements, I was intrigued, but didn't really know whether to go for it or not.
Do you remember Hero, Jet Li's Hero?
I feel like I should.
Oh, Hero's good. Hero's good. It's so good. It was like kind of in the aftermath of Crouching Tiger. It was sort of like Zhang Yimou's Crouching Tiger. Sort of, it's in that same ballpark, but it's Jet Li, Donnie Yen,
Oh,
Maggie
yeah,
Chung,
I've seen the poster for this
Tony
many
Leung's
times.
in it. It's really good. Oh, it's really good. Another one that I'm hoping gets a 4K. I don't know if there's a 4K out of that yet, but it's a gorgeous movie. Really kind
Looks
of like in the grand tradition of the wuxia film, but redone in the sort of like Crouching Tiger sort of style. Highly recommend that. Hopefully that gets a nice release here soon.
Yeah, this one's streaming on Hoopla, actually, so that I might have to dip into that sometime.
Check it out.
One other partner release worth mentioning, I think, is from a new sub-label called Muscle. It's Castration Movie Anthology #1, Traps.
I saw this, yes.
Yeah, which came out in 2024. This has gotten a lot of attention kind of in the indie film circles because this is a multi-part anthology series directed by Louise Weird. This is 275 minutes, and it's billed as a labyrinthine postmodern epic about gender. And I'm not sure if I'm going to pick this one up or not before watching it. I've been hearing people talk about this for a while now. The second film in the anthology series came out last year. And so I imagine at some point that one's going to get a release, or there's going to be a box set of the whole thing. But I thought it was worth noting. This is a new sub-label for Vinegar Syndrome, and they're probably going to be putting out more stuff like this in the future.
Should we each pick one from Criterion maybe to highlight in the interest of time?
Yeah, sure. Tons of 4Ks on here.
Well, Body Heat's a no-brainer. I'm getting that. But one that's new to me that I'm very interested in here is Fresh Kill by Shu Li Chang. Yeah, a disturbingly prescient eco-feminist parable and a brainwave scrambling cyberpunk fantasia. Featuring a queer couple played by Sarita Chowdhury and Aaron McMurtry. Sarita Chowdhury, who I know primarily from Mississippi Masala, which I saw last year and really loved. So the combination of just like, I'm really interested in like sort of like 90s cyberpunk stuff. And I've never heard of this before. I love Sarita Chowdhury, so I'm very intrigued by this one. And I love it when just the Criterion continues to like bring stuff to the fore that I've never heard of. Like they still are able to do that, even though they're also bringing you the latest from 2025 Oscar contenders and things like that. And there's a Kurosawa in here and things like that. So that one's definitely got my attention.
Yeah, I feel like Criterion is definitely leaning more heavily on newer releases, especially in the last couple of months, with Sentimental Value being announced here, as well as Guillermo del Toro's Frankenstein coming soon, and K-pop Demon Hunters, which has sparked quite a bit of, I don't know if controversy is the right word, maybe just bad takes.
Yeah, no, totally. And there's always the legion of people like, oh, you're bringing K-pop Demon Hunters in, but you haven't given me this other thing that I've wanted for years. Like, well,
what are you gonna
I
do?
agree with the take of, that Sean Fennessy, among others, have put out, like, this is going to bring more people into the hobby, get more people interested, and that is worth it. And it's okay if not everything in the collection's for you. It's fine. Like, there's plenty of other stuff.
Yeah. Well, speaking of Sean Fennessy, he's got a commentary track on the new Scream Factory edition of The Haunting, 4K, coming out in May, along with Tracy Letts. They're together, the Dream Team, on a commentary track
There you go.
for a movie I've never seen, but frankly, I'm very interested to buy it now.
Yeah, I've kind of wondered whether the big picture has been a long con for him to launch his own physical media label or get into doing this stuff, which he's obviously an intense interest for him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's made it at least to the point where he can curate a whole Criterion channel monthly selection. So I think good for him. More power to him. Did you want to say anything about the A24 release of If I Had Legs, I'd Kick You?
I love that movie. That was one of my favorite movies of 2025, so I'm definitely interested in that. It's got a Mary Bronstein commentary, which I'd love to hear. It would be really cool if Rose Byrne was on it, because I think, just hearing what was going on in her head when everything that happened in that movie was going down would be fascinating. But yeah, I'm glad they're putting out one of those themselves. So yeah, that's definitely one I would love to pick up.
I think that'll pretty much do it for upcoming releases. Other than literally today, I went to Walmart and picked up The Running Man on 4K. Edgar Wright's The Running Man. Walmart, one of the last bastions of physical media for the common person. Who could have imagined? But this edition of The Running Man is actually like chock full of special features, commentary tracks, how the film was made, extended sequences. Edgar Wright always packs his releases with lots of stuff. So I was glad to see that.
Well, that's a lot of releases to chew over. We didn't even cover all of them. Just kind of give you a taste of the ones that we think look interesting. So why don't we get into our discussion of this week's Blind Buy, which is Josh's pick of The Cat from 1992. And director Lam Nai Choi. So Josh, tell us a little bit more about The Cat.
Yeah, can do. I actually took a stab at writing a fun synopsis this week. Let's see. After hearing from a friend about a mysterious encounter with an old man, a young girl, and a black cat, author/detective Wisely decides to investigate. He eventually discovers that the trio are aliens from another planet tracking a star killer, a large, rubbery, mushroom-like monster that can dissolve humans on contact and take over their bodies. Will the gang be able to gather the 2 octagons needed in order to turn the cat into the, quote, strongest knight in the universe, unquote, before it's too late? Will that poor dog survive a no-pause barred junkyard brawl? Will our hero run out of Molotov cocktails? Find out in what has been called Lam Nai Choi's craziest film, The Cat, from 1992.
Are you a cat person, Josh?
I was not until I met my now wife. She is just an animal person in general, but definitely introduced me more to cats and the joy they can bring to your life. So we have 2 cats now. We have a Maine Coon named Toaster and then a calico cat named Agatha. And I can safely say I'm definitely more of a cat person now than a dog person, just having spent so much time with them. What about you?
I'm a cat person. Grew up with cats in a house with 4 cats. That was at the peak of our catdom. We had 4, and we have a cat, a very feisty tortie. Her name is BB, named after BB-8. Nice. Very cute. Torties they're a spicy breed, or not a breed exactly, but a spicy mutation, I guess. So she definitely lets us know when she needs things. She's very vocal about it. Would you show people 1992's The Cat to convert them to being cat people? If you were trying to sway people, is this the movie you would show them?
Probably not.
So not an accurate depiction of a cat, you would say?
I'm not sure I know of many cats who could take on a ginormous dog in a junkyard brawl, let alone walk away still living and breathing. I might recommend maybe like That Darn Cat from the 60s.
Yes.
But not this one.
I will say, though, it sounds like, working with cats seem like some of the most difficult animals to work with on a movie set, but they got some good reaction shots out of this cat. Whatever they had to do. Yeah, they really did. Yeah. So what are your initial thoughts? Like, have you had any pre-existing history with this director? What led you to buy this one?
So no, I had never seen any of Lam Nai Choi's films. I picked this up because someone had talked about it in I believe it was the Bat and Spider Discord. Someone had notified the Discord that this was going on sale from 88 Films out of the UK. And the cover art was extremely intriguing to me. I read the synopsis and I was like, this is probably right down my alley. Since I watched this, though, for the first time, I did get a chance to check out one of the director's other films, The Seventh Curse, which got, a Vinegar Syndrome release not too long ago. I had a great time with that, and it really kind of just solidified for me that I just freaking love this stuff. Like this.
Yes.
I don't know how many other ways I can say how like happy this movie and The Seventh Curse made me just to know that this exists, other than it just like I couldn't stop smiling the whole time I was watching this. It was so much fun. We got to actually watch this in the Bat and Spider Discord as part of a watch party programmed by our friend Anna Ghoul a couple of weeks ago. That was a fun way to watch it for the first time, to kind of get a sense of what other people were thinking of the film as it was happening, and getting crazy responses to all the insane shit going on in this movie. But it also gave me a good excuse to revisit the film later this past week, because I knew I'd want to watch it again and kind of spend some time formulating my own opinions on the film, and also just getting to watch the insane fight sequences again. And the animal stunt choreography and the gore that's just like liquid rubber. I don't know what the right term for that is. I feel like I'm gonna have a hard time being coherent on this episode because I just love this so much. What about you?
Yeah, and it's one of those movies where it's hard to not just go directly to the like Chris Farley show, and then this happened, and wasn't that awesome, right? Because there's just so much. There's so many things. You could list almost everything that happens in the movie. So I had seen The Seventh Curse previously. I think that was I picked that up when Justin Liberty actually came and did a pop-up at Scarecrow, a Vinegar Syndrome pop-up. He was just, people were asking him like, what should I get off of this table? And that was definitely one of the ones that he called out and was like, yep, I'll get that. And it's a double feature, which is fun. That went into my 4 favorites because I rotate them just to be like, sort of like, what's the most mind-blowing or crazy or most interesting, most moving thing I've seen recently. And that The Seventh Curse was definitely fit the bill there. And yeah, again, similarly, like these are just the way that a lot of these Hong Kong directors were just doing these cash-ins on whatever the genre hit of the day was. Like, with The Seventh Curse, it's sort of like an Indiana Jones thing.
Mm-hmm.
Mixed with just some of the wildest stunts that would even stuff that probably wouldn't even be legal under union rules in the United States. Some of the stuff they had people like, some of the stuff looks legitimately dangerous in this movie. Also. Or stuff like, the Magic Crystal, a lot of that sort of late period Shaw Brothers stuff when they had sort of like kind of exhausted, like we've done everything we can with the sort of classical kung fu wuxia type stuff. So they just started like throwing in, all right, there's going to be aliens and there's going to be like kaiju like monsters and stuff. They just sort of were like taking all the toys out of the box and throwing them into like an action template and getting like just incredible stunt coordinators to put these movies together that don't always make sense, but they move so fast and are just keep throwing outrageous imagery at you. And that you kind of don't even care. You're like, I'm not watching this for the story or for subtext. I just want to have my eyes melted by, outrageous puppetry, pyrotechnics, stuff with guns. I mean, just, yeah. So I had a fantastic time with the cat.
Yeah. I'm trying to think of even where we should start this discussion, because the story is like what there is of the story is set up as the character of Wisely kind of writing down what he's heard from his friend Lee Tung about his neighbor who makes just a ton of noise at night, and he goes to be like, why are you making so much noise? And that's when he finds the old man with blood on his hands, the young girl holding the black cat. They end up moving out the next day, and then he comes to the apartment, sneaks in, and finds bloody sheets and like cat intestines on the ground and everything. Yeah,
the way the film is set up with this Wisely character, this author, it kind of gave me like a sort of like I almost felt like they were going for an H.P. Lovecraft sort of setup, with there's a writer who's writing about something, and he discovers a secret that's bigger than you could possibly understand. And you kind of get bits of his writing throughout sometimes, like you hear, and just some of the, it was, I mean, I was reading subtitles and it's in Cantonese, so who's to say how it probably sounds nicer if I could speak Cantonese, but just some of the things that, some of his passages, I think the one that I wrote down, only an animal can punish another animal in sin. A man can't expose himself to dog howls for so long and still find enjoyment. Just some great stuff. Great stuff. But then it kind of jettisons the Lovecraftian, what to me seemed like Lovecraftian stuff of like, it's cosmic horror and it's going to go crazy if you contemplate it for too long, for just straight up like, oh, there's a monster and it's electrocuting people, setting them on fire, and it's also a body snatcher sort of thing.
Yeah.
Which, yeah, so then it goes into sort of this like Invasion of the Body Snatchers kind of cash in, where they're like they clone some of the cops, and then it goes out to do the creature's bidding. And that's where we are introduced to one of my probably my favorite, outside of the practical effects of it all, to Philip Kwok, who plays the sort of lead investigator.
Yes.
Who he just had to be, he's the ringer for this movie, and for me in terms of performers. He was huge and continues to be huge in Hong Kong. Like, he was one of the 5 deadly venoms. Going back to like the heyday of the Shaw Brothers movies. He was in Crippled Avengers, Master of the Flying Guillotine. So, and he's like a stunt coordinator in his own right. So, and is just a hugely charismatic player, which I think is why they picked him for this. Because once he's sort of taken over by the mushroom creature and has his encounter with the gun runners, he gets to play it really, really big. And just, he's like a total madman. And yeah, I thought he was great. And in addition, just being able to do all this physical stuff, which was awesome.
Yeah.
Sometimes when he was on fire, or when his stunt double was on fire.
Yeah, he gets to do so much in this. In the first scene where we see the encounter with the crazy mushroom creature, he gets like the brunt of the like destruction in that scene, because he's the one that we kind of follow for the rest of the film, whose body has kind of been snatched by the monster. And then, like you mentioned, the gunrunner sequence where he gets to just go all out, killing people in crazy ways. And then eventually breaking into Wisely's house by like climbing the hill and bringing out his big guns. And it's him who I think falls off the roof and has the like crazy squishy body noises, putting his body back together after falling off the roof. It's crazy stuff. But he's fantastic in this, and I need to check out more of his work. I think I have the 5 Venoms as part of one of the Shaw Brothers sets that I have, so I'm definitely going to be checking that out.
Yeah, and the in addition to the fight, the choreography is really great. Just the the sort of puppet choreography with the cat and dog stuff. The other sort of big set piece of the movie, Wisely enlists the help of was it like a mastiff, some kind of a big nasty looking dog that he hears is like this is the roughest dog you could find. He'll find that cat for you, and he'll be able to take care of it. And then, as you mentioned, there's a showdown in a junkyard between the cat, which we haven't really talked much about the cat yet, really. But yeah, the cat is apparently an alien in the form of a cat that has lots of powers. But yeah, we get this showdown sort of switching between a live cat and dog, and then these puppets. Yes. It's very obvious when it's a puppet and when it's not. But some of the stuff they have these things doing was just, like the cat sort of suplexes the dog at one point. Amazing stuff.
I went back and watched this sequence. No joke. I've watched this maybe 5 times outside of the actual film itself. It's one of the craziest things I've ever seen in my life. I don't know how they executed this as well as they did, let alone like planned how to do it, and then factored in having to wrangle actual animals and then puppets, and it just kind of blows my mind that they did all of this. The fast cutting too, but while making sure that like the action is actually legible, so you can see like where the cat lands and how he's going to flip the dog next, or the cat has loosened these electrical cords and now the dog's running towards him, so the cat's going to get out of the way and the dog's going to get electrocuted. Like, the action is so fluid that it's just it's so easy to watch and be able to understand everything that's going on. And I feel like you do not get stuff like that even like by today's standards,
with humans.
with humans
Yeah.
battling. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. And it must be mentioned that there's some stuff they did some stuff with the cat that they probably shouldn't have. Like had
Oh, yeah.
like the Humane Society been on the set. There's some upsetting stuff that they, when the cat appears to kind of get caught in, like, I mean, the cat loses its paw, which they then, like, take to a laboratory to run some tests on it.
Oh, the tail.
Oh, the tail. Excuse me. Yes,
Yeah,
the
yeah,
tail.
yeah.
Yes, yes. The cat loses its tail in a car trunk, I think,
Yeah.
or something like that. No, most of it's just a lot of clever, switching out for puppets and dummies and stop motion and things. I also noted at one point when Wisely enters the junkyard, there's this hilarious shot, and out of focus in the background, the cat's like up on a truck or something like that, and it like comes into it made me think of that shot from Hereditary where the mom's up on the ceiling or something like that,
Oh, yeah.
and it's silent. It was very funny the way it sort of panned, and the cat's be like, oh, the cat is behind you. Just so funny.
Yeah. Well, I guess we could mention too, kind of backing up, the reason for that junkyard brawl is that Wisely is trying to catch the cat in the act of stealing an octagon from a museum, which
The MacGuffin.
is the MacGuffin of the movie. There's two octagons, put them together, and they should be able to call to their home world and imbue the cat with special powers. I'm going to be honest, I didn't know if I was going crazy or not, but these are not octagons that they're stealing, and even when you put them together, they don't form an octagon.
Yeah, they were polygons of some kind.
Yeah.
Who knows?
But-
It could be a translation thing. Maybe that's the closest thing they could get. Like octagon,
Yeah, I don't know.
I guess. Yeah.
Anyway, these octagons are in museums, and in the second museum, Wisely has set up, surveillance so they can catch the cat in the act. And when they see the cat on the camera taking the octagon, they sick the dog on him. They have a little bit of a fight sequence between like the balcony and stairs, kind of like a 2-level thing. And then the cat just kind of jumps out the window. We don't see it, but we see the cat-shaped hole that's left in the window.
Yes, I noted that too, like the Looney Tunes thing. Yeah.
I think that was the moment that kind of solidified for me that this is like going to be one of my all-time favorite movies moving forward. Just the cut to a cat-shaped hole in the glass. That freaking killed me.
Yep. I love it when movies do that. I mean, you see that in a lot. Again, you see that a lot in some of those Hong Kong action flicks. Like somebody gets thrown through a wall and you can see like his arms or whatever. Yeah, it's very it's exciting. It's very funny. Especially in the first scene where you see the full scale of the mushroom monster, and he just takes out like half a dozen cops. Just all the way that all those guys look like they're having a lot of fun, like committing to their outrageous death scenes. Yeah.
Just rolling in goop and
Oh my God. Yeah.
yeah.
And that first shot of it's basically one of the first shots in the movie where like the body of a drifter sort of gets reanimated in like a sewer, and it looks like beans are entering his mouth or something like that. It looked like it was disgusting. I was like, am I ever eating beans again? Like seeing what they're doing with it. Yeah, a lot of just really gross stuff that was fun to see on screen.
There's a lot of the goopiness and sound effects that go along with that are not necessarily pleasant to look at or listen to, but are like what you look for in a movie like this. Lots of crazy Foley work in this movie too, especially when it comes to like the gun handling sequences, the scenes with the Molotov cocktails and the fires and explosions, and we can get into all of that stuff, but I think it's worth noting that the sound in this film is they did the most.
Wisely has like a dozen bottles of vodka in his bedroom. They make all those Molotov cocktails. Yeah. That house was incredible. I mean, just that whole house, like, he's like I assume a successful writer, but he had like that waterfront house with a pool. He's eating like a whole lobster for breakfast with his girlfriend. The rooms in that house are just lined with, but there's like just books stacked to the ceiling everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the set dressing in the house was a lot of fun and made for a fun setting for the final. Well, I guess it wasn't exactly the final, because then they just sort of end up at that facility afterward again, seemingly with no explanation, like
Yeah,
kind of where the
it's
final showdown takes place. They're just at this other building where there's lots of people, and there's, I guess it was like an observatory because they had to use the telescope to contact
yes,
the home planet. Yeah,
yeah,
exquisite nonsense.
from what I was getting from it, the cat had been recharged because his tail had been reattached, but he wasn't quite ready to use the octagon because he had to wait until maybe the cat was close enough to the monster and the octagon lit up at the same time. But yeah, the building that they went to at the end, that's where the rubber mushroom monster was kind of infiltrating. But there's another great sequence in the cafeteria of that building where the Star Killer monster kind of oozes out through the vents onto the people sitting in the cafeteria. I mean, it's just another great scene of destruction and practical effects and explosions and all of that good stuff. Just super goopy, people literally melting into the monster itself. And then the monster climbing up the outside of the building, chasing our heroes up to the roof. And there's a really awesome exterior shot. It must have been a miniature of the building or something, where you can tell they filmed it like upside down so they could get the goop kind of flowing upwards when they played it the right way towards the top of the building. I thought that shot was awesome. And then when they get to the roof and all of the faces of the people that have been melted and absorbed by the monster merge into the one main face was just fantastic. It was a lot of compositing and like slow-mo image combining to get it to look like that, and definitely some miniatures involved as well, I would imagine, in force perspective with the characters on the roof. But I thought it looked really, really good.
Yeah, it definitely reminded me also with some of that sort of the practical goopy and even some of the music. I was getting like some like Hellraiser vibes off of it also. Especially with the tentacle monster at the end with the face. Yeah, that definitely felt like a movie they might have seen and could have said, yeah, let's throw it in the blender also with all this other wild stuff we have going on here.
They put The Thing in there. They put Invasion of the Body Snatchers in there. They put Terminator in there.
Yeah. He's definitely that. Yeah, Philip Kwok. The Philip Kwok character is for sure like a T-1000.
Yeah.
I mean, even just like when he's going through the fire. Yeah, so many stunt performers set on fire in this movie and in Seventh Curse. I mean, some of the stuff they did with explosions in Seventh Curse was just kind of unbelievable.
Yeah.
So yeah, not afraid to do what was needed to get the shots in these movies.
Even the old man alien, I think his name was actually like Errol or something, but he goes out in flames too. Like he literally lights himself on fire, jumps off of Wisely's roof and tackles Officer Wong into the pool at Wisely's house. And I think I put down in my notes that like it's kind of a sad way for him to go because he didn't actually accomplish anything because Wang still comes out of the pool and tries to attack again. But it made for a really great shot.
Yeah. What else to say? I mean, I think that's most of the things that I took note of. Just a list of a list of jaw-dropping moments, mostly.
I'm looking back through my notes to see if there were any lines I wanted to call out. So when Wisely, Wang, and his friend Lee Tung, they all gather at his house after he tells them about the mysterious neighbors right at the beginning. I think Wisely's offering Lee a drink, and he says, "I don't drink until sunset." And Wisely says back, "The sun has set in many parts of the world." So they all decide to drink. And it's kind of a foreshadowing of the flammable vodka there, because Wisely sets the vodka on fire and he's like, "This is the strongest alcohol known to man," or whatever. But there's a little bit of foreshadowing there.
Yeah, Wisely played by a man whose name appears to be Wisely. Chi Huang, which is I thought that was interesting, kind of funny. Yeah, he's in a bunch of these movies that are about to get like John Woo movies that are getting or about to get released through this treasure trove of stuff, like Bullet in the Head, A Better Tomorrow, Infernal Affairs movies. So yeah, this is the first movie I've seen with him. So he didn't leave as much of an impression on me as Philip Kwok. I guess mostly just because I recognize and love that guy, but I look forward to seeing some more of him in some of these other movies.
Yeah, my favorite line from him was, I think it was in the voiceover during what you call the Lovecraftian like narration section, when after his first encounter with the cat, he's like, "It just never occurred to me that a cat could fight," and it made me wonder, like, has this guy ever actually met or interacted with the cat before? We didn't talk much about Wisely's relationship with his girlfriend, Pai So, but they have some kind of brunch situation going on, and
Yes.
she's just come from working out or playing tennis or something, and we get at least 5 close-ups of different parts of her body covered in sweat.
Yes, she was very, very sweaty. I know tennis is a very athletic sport, but yeah, I mean,
We've all seen challengers.
Yes, it's true. But yeah, she was very sweaty, armpit sweat. Perfect hair though. Her hair did not say that she had just come from playing tennis. Yeah. But yeah, then Wisely, didn't he threw her in the pool? He's kind of a jerk.
Yeah, she was like, "Oh, I need to shower first," and he was like, "Yeah, here you go." Just dumped her in the pool.
Yeah, I feel like she didn't get too much else to do, aside from just be kind of like imperiled and react to stuff that was happening. I only watched it once though. Maybe you remember more than I do. But.
Well, yeah, she disappears after the attack on Wisely's house. They literally drop her off at the police station and then go finish having the final battle, and then she shows up at the end with the cops to be like, "Are you okay? Let's go home."
Yeah.
I think we talked a little bit about just how expressive the cat or series of cats that they found for this film were. I know they probably weren't treated the best and they kind of got thrown around a lot, but great reaction shots at the cats holding things in their mouth, cats landing on all 4 feet. Yeah.
If cats aren't your thing, this might be the one to skip. But you do get that dog fight. And the dog was very cute too. The dog did a great job.
And he made it out of the fight alive.
He did. I was shocked. Yes.
Absolutely improbable.
His handler, the dog's owner, who's some rich guy who breeds dogs, I think, was also funny. I enjoyed him in the couple of scenes where he showed up.
Yeah. So that guy is played by a man named Ni Kwong. He is actually the author of a series of 100+ novels featuring the Wisely character. And The Cat is a film based on one of his novels featuring the Wisely character. And The Seventh Curse is also an adaptation of one of his books because a character named Wisely is in that film as well.
Amazing. He's like the Morgan Freeman character from those movies, Kiss the Girls, etc. Yeah, that's funny.
Yeah, I had no clue that this was based on a book, let alone like a massively popular Hong Kong like mystery series. And the character of Wisely has, as far as I can tell, has never been played by the same person twice, and spans animation, television, films, all that stuff. But yeah, Ni Kwong played the dog owner, and he cameos in a lot of works based on his work.
Oh yeah, now that I look at the related film section of Letterboxd, I see The Legend of Wisely and The Wisely's Mysterious Files, starring Andy Lau. Andy Lau seemingly as Wisely. That's intriguing.
Yeah, he seems to be like a Sherlock Holmes or Poirot type character, kind of crossed with an Indiana Jones like adventurer.
Yeah, this is Legend of Wisely. He traverses to Taiwan, Egypt, and Nepal on the hunt for a magical pearl that may expand human consciousness. Said to be left behind in a Buddhist monastery by a dragon. And I see something that looks like a Star Destroyer on the cover of the poster for this Legend of Wisely movie, in addition to the Sphinx and some other stuff. So that's fascinating, and I'm adding it to my watch list.
Yeah, and I am as well. Really great stuff. And I want to see if I can find an English translation of one of the Wisely novels, because we'll get into this when we talk a little bit about the bonus features or bonus feature on this 88 Films release. In fact, we can just get into it now, I guess.
Yeah, I think that's all I've got for The Cat. I loved it. Had a great time.
Yeah. But the main feature, the main bonus feature on this disc is an interview with Gordon Chan, who was the screenwriter for this film. And the main thing that I took away from this, 10-minute discussion is that they kind of knew right off the bat that they couldn't capture the essence of the novel. And so what he was attempting to do was to try to like expand the scope and like the influence of Wisely on the story and like the destruction that the Star Killer kind of wreaks on the city in this story. The interview, it seemed to me, he did not seem very proud of his work on this film. I don't know if you watched it at all.
I
But
watched maybe about half of it. Yeah, yeah.
he had been brought on to write this film when it was under a director previous to Lam Nai Choi, a guy named Alex Chung. And basically, apparently, he left over creative differences because he and Gordon Chan, the screenwriter, could not figure out how to communicate with each other about what Chung was looking for from this screenplay. And it turns out that Lam Nai Choi was brought in after Chung departed to kind of fix what he had already started and then complete the film. And Gordon Chan basically didn't have any contact with the director once the screenplay was finished. So yeah, he didn't have a lot of great things to say about the film other than like he enjoyed writing it, but he didn't think he did a very good job. And this is actually how I found out that there was a separate Japanese cut of the film, which is also included on the 88 film set. But the interviewer asked Gordon Chan whether he knew if the Japanese cut of the film used his script or not. And he was like, I have no clue what they did. But they basically shot a Japanese version of The Cat concurrently with the Hong Kong version with a Japanese cast. I scrubbed through it. It's just like a VHS rip on this Blu-ray, but it differs pretty significantly from the Hong Kong theatrical version. A lot of the gore sequences are the same because I imagine they didn't want to shoot those twice. But the storyline feels quite different.
Wow.
The entire plot seems to be different between
That's fascinating.
the action sequences, like dialogue is different, characters, locations, all that stuff. But I didn't know about it until I watched the interview with the screenwriter.
Yeah. It would have been nice to have a little, given just all the, the practical nature of it. It's one of those things where it would have been fun to learn more about how they did some of this stuff. And also, I'm sure that it's a memorable movie to me. It would be hard to imagine working on a movie like this and not remembering something about the giant mushroom monster or something, or I was covered in beans or whatever that was. So it would have been fun to have some stuff, because I'm sure some of the, most of these people are still around and still involved in the business. It would have been fun to hear from some of them, but what can you do?
And I believe that the director Lam Nai Choi is still alive. He just hasn't directed anything in almost 30 years.
Yeah. I think he's still around. He did not too much. I mean, some of these Hong Kong directors were incredibly prolific, but he doesn't have too many credits to his name as a director. He shot a bunch of movies too. I guess he has a bunch of cinematography credits too.
Yeah, I'm looking into getting the story of Ricky. Is it Ricky O or just Ricky? I can't remember.
It's Ricky O and then subtitled The Story of Ricky. So I always mix them up in my head, and I haven't seen that. So I need to finish the trilogy of his 3 most notorious movies. I've heard about Erotic Ghost Story also.
I was looking on Orbit DVD's site, and they have a German 4K of Riccio, along with, I believe, just a Synapse Films Blu-ray. I'll have to double check that. So yeah, like I don't know if it's ever going to get another release in 4K in another region, but I'd like to check it out at some point.
Feels like maybe Synapse will upgrade theirs, but it feels like only a matter of time with the heat surrounding Lam Nai Choi's work.
The only other thing then included in the 88 Films release is a booklet with two articles, and they're basically just both retrospectives on Nai Choi's career. So a lot of the same stuff in both of these, and actually like a fair number of typos that I was clocking while I was reading, which, I mean, I spend a lot of my day-to-day life anyway, looking out for typos and stuff just at work. I don't know, it really surprised me that like this is the presentation of this is so good with like the hardcover box that the Blu-ray comes in, and like the restoration of the film is good, but I don't know, the typos are really throwing me off in the booklet. I'm probably dwelling on them more than I should, but just like how did that get in the final version? I don't know.
Offer your services to 88 Films as a copy editor or something.
Yes, please hire me. I'll make sure the apostrophes get in where they need to go.
You'll work for you could work for discs.
But yeah, that pretty much wraps it up.
Yeah, I'd pick this up for sure. I'd add it to the list, even because this was a rental. But yeah, I'd watch it again. So, yeah.
Yeah, this is a keeper for me. It's a bigger box set since it's the Blu-ray case and then the hard box with the booklet, but it's definitely going to get a nice prominent spot on my shelf for a bit now that I've seen it finally. Well, we do not have any letters from friends this week, but if you would like to reach out to us and send us your thoughts on this week's pick, The Cat, any of our previous picks, any physical media news that you've come across, you can reach out to us at blindbuyspod@gmail.com, and we'll be happy to read your message here on the air. But with that being said, Jesse, it is your turn to pick our next film that we're going to be watching, a blind buy from your collection for episode 6. What are you thinking?
My first two picks have both been Criterion releases, so I felt like I gotta set out a little bit from that well-worn and beloved territory. So we're going with a label that we've discussed quite a bit in the releases sections of our episodes so far, and it's going to be off of their first sub-label. We are going to be watching, from 1980, directed by Robert Butler, The Night of the Juggler.
Oh, hell yes.
This is Radiance Films' new release under their Transmission sublabel of Night of the Juggler. It's a movie that I've heard about for years from, this is one of those movies that the guys from Pure Cinema have been always talking about, because it, until recently, didn't have much of a proper release, but it now has both of this release out of the UK, and there's a Kino Lorber 4K also, stateside.
Yes.
But the Transmission Radiance release is just like a super deluxe, as we'll talk about next time. But this is a movie starring James Brolin, and I don't know too much about it, so I'm excited to learn more. The slugline here is: when a twisted psychotic kidnaps a young girl, mistaking her for the daughter of a wealthy developer, her father, a hardened ex-cop, doggedly hunts them through New York's steamy streets. So yeah, a lot of things I love, old New York captured on film, probably without permits. So I'm very excited to see this one.
I was secretly hoping you were going to pick this, since you sent that picture in the VHS Village of the two Transmission box sets you finally gotten in the mail. I have not checked this out yet, but I do have the Transmission box set, and I also have the second release from them as well, the Stuntman. So I am so excited to dive into this. I'm so glad you picked it. I've been holding off on watching it just in case we decided to pick it on the show. So cannot wait to dive into this for next episode.
All right, so we will see the rest of you next time for Night of the Juggler.
See you later.